Well, the first thing I would say is that I would give you an insight into what happens backstage. And before we film the show for 30 minutes, I shout, "You're nothing without me" in Alex's face for 30 minutes repeatedly.
Sometimes more.
Yeah. And I do it a regulation 3 inches from his face.
Greg Davies and Alex Horne from Taskmaster. How are you all doing this evening? I'm assuming, or this morning?
Today? Yeah, well, I'm good. Are you good, Alex?
I'm quite good. It is evening. I've got a croaky voice, Andrew. But
nothing wrong with that. Croaky voice, as long as you feel good.
I've got a lot of bad habits.
Oh, God. So many bad habits.
We all have them. It's you got to live with it, but you're here, and that's all that matters.
We're only human.
Exactly. So we have a lot of incredible things happening with Taskmaster. It's growing, I would say, every day. Now you have the Taskmaster app coming out. What can you tell me about that? Why now? Why an app solely for Taskmaster? And do you have any concerns about it as it launches here with, I would say season 9 is coming next, although it just seems like all of them are being added, but please.
Yeah. I don't think either of us have any concerns. I think it's just a fun experiment, and why not, I suppose. It like you say, we're constantly surprised by people discovering it. And during lockdown, I think people found it on YouTube and things like that. So it just seemed like a fun thing to put everything in one place and release these seasons on their own right in America, because they've been out here and they'll still go up on YouTube, but it feels like we can have a bit more pomp and ceremony about it and have fun with it.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you what it is, Andrew. It's a fun attempt at global domination.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. There's nothing wrong with it. Season 13, will it be premiering on the app, or is it going to be delayed, sort of like with I don't know if there's any sort of like deal with Channel 4?
Yeah, there is delays because of various boring things. Eventually they will catch up and come out at the same time here and there. But we have to get through a few other series. So at the moment, these will come out one by one. And they will, by this time next year, we'll all be in sync.
Okay. I mean, the little bit I've gotten to look through it, it's great. Vimeo is obviously very stable when you're streaming or trying to cast to your TV. So I'm happy about that as a fan. And it just, there's a lot of room to grow, and goes into my next question. Taskmaster USA, why do you think it didn't catch on, given the success of the show now through YouTube and in the quarantine and all that? And is it something that you might try again in another manner, especially now that you have the app? Could it be something that's just like on the app itself?
It's a good question. I think there's many factors why it didn't work. The biggest one being that we compromised on quite a few things that we maybe shouldn't have. And if we'd stayed true to the old program, the original, with Greg and I hosting it in the same studio and the same length, that probably would have been the sensible thing to do, rather than changing it as much as we did.
That makes sense.
I think it's a show. It's a show that is a world that it's good to invite people into. So it works. One of the many reasons it works, I think, is because we invite them into our world, and they sort of have to play by our rules. One of the things that unites the contestants and makes them bond, I think, is the fact that they're having the same experience in our house.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to invite them into our world, and that probably is one of the reasons why.
Another reason I do think that the show works so well is Greg as the host. It really plays into this aura that you have, being like the teacher and then the in-betweeners, and just that sort of authoritative, I guess, I don't want to say demon, but let's just go with demon.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it is a perfect role for someone who's like a comedian and also can balance it with like having some sort of like,
Well, the first thing I would say is that I would give you an insight into what happens backstage. And before we film the show for 30 minutes, I shout, "You're nothing without me" in Alex's face for 30 minutes repeatedly.
Sometimes more.
Yeah. And I do it a regulation 3 inches from his face.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I'd like to say. The second thing is, I would say yes. It was a dream role for me, and anyone who knows me in real life will know that I have no natural sense of authority whatsoever. But to be handed it by Alex, because it's Alex's show, of course, but to be handed the authority felt like quite a privilege, and I think it's a power that I've wielded incredibly irresponsibly.
Now, given that, and I'll say this, the authoritative thing does not, it seems like it's you, so that's not you. You do very well playing across there. So I know you guys get asked all the time, who's going to be next? Who do you guys want on the show? I've seen you said Jack D, which I love the description of digging up with the spoon. Makes me think of The Simpsons, where it's like, dig up, stupid. And then we have Greg with Lorraine. Which I know as an American, as the lady that James Acaster told to F off over Piers Morgan on, I think it was The Last Leg.
Remarkable clip, yeah.
Yes. Is there anybody else that comes to mind? I know Bill Bailey, probably, David Mitchell, who I had a side thing about, but please go ahead.
There's lots of British comedians that I think we'd like on, and you've just named two of them. Mm-hmm. I would love to see David Mitchell on. I think that would be wonderful. I think he's hilarious. Come the inevitable international spin of the next wave of the American show, and the peculiar thing where we move away from comedians, as we have done a few times in the UK, I would like to have Ryan Gosling on the show.
Oh, that'd be great.
And the reason for that is I've very briefly met Ryan on a chat show in the UK, and I thought he was hilarious. I thought he had a sparkle in his eyes, and those are the contestants we're looking for. People with that wry twinkle in their eyes who
he was quite keen. He was quite keen on your bathroom mishap story.
Yeah. I mean, he laughed at my story. That's the primary reason I liked it.
Exactly. Yeah. Is there anybody you don't want? I wanted to name like two people or two groups kind of thing that you might not want, but I didn't know if anybody popped into your head that, we don't want this person on the show. We're not going to ask them or anything like that. I know it's a tough question, but
wow.
I don't think there is. I think previously we would have thought, I might have thought, for example, Ricky Gervais, he's too big for the show. But I think we could cope with anyone now, and it'd be great to see someone like that do it. So previously, Johnny Vegas did the show, and I was a bit worried about him before, thinking he's going to be out of control. But we've got such strict, the show runs itself, so people have to fit into it. So there's no one I think I would automatically not want unless they're an awful person.
I was thinking, but the ones I was going to mention, and then we'll wrap it up. One was one of the Gallagher brothers. I don't know which one it could be. I don't know if you'd want. I don't think you could have both in the same room. I think it would be difficult. I don't know what you think about that. And then the other one would be Piers Morgan. With Piers Morgan, who is well known in the United States here, would he be someone who'd be in there?
I think that putting Piers Morgan on with the Gallagher brothers would be a very challenging season. I think it's unlikely to happen. Yes. Alex's two fantasy castings are Prince William and Madonna.
Madonna.
Yeah. So
I also know you mentioned Prince Philip before his passing and stuff, which was still funny because I think it was a year off from after his car accident, and
right.
Still, I mean, you still picked him, and I think it would still be funny to say, but I know you.
And I think we stand by that. We would have loved to have had him on.
I really appreciate the time, and I appreciate speaking with you here. So good luck with season 13. Good luck with the app, Champion of Champions 2, and whatever else comes down. I'm a fan. I'm dying to see everything. So
thanks, Andrew.
Andrew, it was such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.